Hey, I thought I'd take just a minute to share the system I've been using for hauling lumber in my second generation Tacoma. It's what I was going for was to be able to haul 4x8 sheets like safely and securely and without damaging them, even the corners or anything like that. And also to be able to bolt down long boards to the bed, to the bottom of it. So I noticed that the Tacomas and other models as well come with these notches in the side, and they form a plane that runs parallel between all the notches and the wheel wells. So that gives you a big flat plane to put stuff on over the wheel wells. Even though the bed's not 4 feet wide, you can get a 4x8 on it. I also added this little thing, and so it slides down references on these grooves, and it's pretty solid, so when a piece of plywood is strapped down on top of it, it'll hold it down and that'll stay there securely. So to make it easy to store, this is two separate pieces. It's just got a little whatever you call it, that's in there. So with those two spanners and this little block at the end, that makes one big parallel plane, and that block is a little over 7 feet out, so hauling a 4x8, it's supported almost the entire board. And so here's what the bottom of this block looks like. I'll provide dimensions for those. Two strips here that are the same shape as the grooves, and then to put it together I just put the strips in there, put this on top, and had some CA glue with activator on it to help it to stick, and then I flipped it over and pin nailed it in. I put some magnets on it just in case I hit a bump and it's not tied down well. It would still not want to bounce off, but they're too small, it doesn't actually do anything, so if it's an issue I'll replace those with bigger ones. Also put magnets on the inside under here. So yeah, that references really well, doesn't want to wiggle as long as it's being pushed down upon. And it snugs in there. And there's that. I decided to make these spanners the half of the width of the slot, that way I could store them under here whenever they're not in use, and then when needed, pull one of them out over to this end. But also it turns out to be easy enough to just throw them in this toolbox. The reason I made that extender piece in two pieces is so that it can easily break down and not take up a lot of space in here. And so that's the part for holding 4x8 plywood. I also added those two tie downs and those two as well. There's lots of videos about that, so I won't go into details about it. Here's a shot of actually holding down a 4x8. I didn't tie it down real thoroughly because I'm just putting it on for demonstration purposes, but so yeah, you can see that this extra peg gives us a contact point just to like 9 inches from the edge of the plywood, as well as those others down there. You could do a full X, you could put another strap in the middle with those extra tie down locations. So here are dimensions for the parts I described. So for this part, I made 2 of these, and the dimensions for those are right here. It took some trial and error to get the angles right, but you could use these measurements. These are all in centimeters, by the way. You could use these measurements to mark it out on the piece like that, and then just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. So yeah, for these, I used a table saw to cut them roughly to the right shape, and then used a block plane to kind of round the corners to match the rounded curvature of the inner of the truck bed. So get those right, set them both in the grooves like under there, set this on top to get it in the right spot, find some way to keep it stuck, then you can reinforce it. And then the only other critical dimension is the total height. So there's that. And so that's from the bottom of this base, not all the way down to the bottom, but the bottom of this base up to the top of this platform. And so then for the long spanners that go across the bed like this, here's the dimensions for those. So yeah, there you go. That's the dimensions for all this stuff.